Welcome back to the Real Entrepreneur Podcast. My name is Alex Coffman. Today we're doing another hot take. And today's hot take is for all the shit talkers on Instagram. Everybody in the comment section blabbing their mouth, talking about something that I'm sure they don't have a ton of experience with. And it's good. I like the shit talking. I like to talk shit. Team over here behind the camera won't let me say to you guys what I really want to say to you guys. But I want to address something that I've been hearing in the comments recently, and one of which this is one of the main points that a lot of people have been making in the comment section when it comes to talking about investing in commercial real estate and getting started in real estate, going to commercial real estate assets such as apartments or retail or whatever it might be, industrial. They seem to think that, the theory behind not doing that and staying small and buying a $50,000 house or buying, whatever it is, a duplex. The reason they have to stay small is because I think someone even said Sarah from down the street can't go compete with institutional investors. And then someone today, I think his name was Bob the Builder. Seriously, that's his thing. Said essentially the same concept, that it's not wise to go and compete. You can't compete. Basically, they're saying you have no chance of success because you have no experience and you are not an institution and you can't go compete with these bigger players. While that is true to some extent, if you've never bought a real estate asset, I'd say that it's very unlikely that you're going to go buy a $200 million, 500 unit Class A apartment complex immediately. That is very unlikely that is going to happen. But I want to try and break this down into a few different points here. So number one, and maybe I should clarify in the videos, some of these videos are taken in the middle of saying things. So it's not necessarily planned to give you a full overview in that video, but a 32 unit to 64 unit apartment complex, institutional investors are not buying these. Number one, they're way too small. They're probably not in the best locations. They're too small of an asset for these bigger players to go in there and buy. The institutional buyers and the big players are focused on bigger assets, better assets. And so the 32 unit to 64 unit, you're actually not going to be competing with institutional buyers. The BlackRocks, the Starwoods, the huge buyers out there who are buying these deals. There's actually way less competition the higher you get and the more you level up. But of course, you need to be qualified to buy those assets. But number one, if you're just starting out and you're looking at buying your first multifamily apartment complex, and say you are looking at 32 to 64 units, for example, you're not going to be competing with institutions. So you can take that off the table immediately. Now, you are going to be competing with people who are sophisticated, right? You're not going to be competing with the people who are buying, a house for $50,000, which there's actually more competition there anyways, right? Because there's such a low barrier to entry that anybody and everybody is trying to do it. So you actually have more competition there than you do on the 32 to 64 unit. But the chances of you being able to get a 32 to 64 unit done are very high. If you have the right team assembled, if you know what you're doing, if you were able to implement all the stuff that I'm teaching here on this podcast, that we put out on social media, that we teach inside of our courses and boot camps, it's very possible for you to go get a 32 to 64 unit deal done. Now, the reason why the competition level is less there than on the houses is because the 32 to 64 unit, most people aren't going after that. Anybody and everybody is going after the houses. So you have way more people that you're competing with there. And like I mentioned at the beginning of this, the 32 to 64 unit is too small for the institutions. They're not buying those. They're not focused on buying those. They will never buy those. So you have a small little window there where it's too big for the single family guys, the people in the comments section, and it's too small for the institutions. So it's actually less competition there. Now, a lot of these deals also are not being sold to you by institutions. So they're being sold to you. The sellers are mom and pop owners. Maybe they've owned them for 10, 20 years. So you can actually be pretty creative with the 32 to 64 units that you can't do with the 150 unit, for example. the 32 to 64 unit, you could probably structure a really great seller finance deal. If the seller's owned it for a long time, they don't have any debt on it, it's very likely that you can structure good seller financing terms on a 32 to 64 unit with no issue whatsoever. Now, of course, you need to find a seller who's in that position, who needs to sell, wants to sell, and is willing to seller finance. But it's more possible there than it is in the bigger deals. And then once you start going to the bigger deals, that scenario becomes less and less likely. So that's one point, is that the competition level is actually less there than it is in the single family realm. But you need to be prepared. Like, nobody's telling you that you're just going to wake up one day, walk out the door, and go buy an apartment complex. You have to put in the work that's required. You have to assemble the team that's required. You have to assemble the resources that's required to be able to go out and do these deals. But your competition is actually not that high for those types of deals. Now, the second thing I want to focus on is their thought process doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Basically the concept there is that anything good in life, it's going to be hard to get, and there's a lot of competition for what's good. So you should not go out and buy what's good and go after what's good. And you should just settle for things that suck because nobody else wants them, and there's very little competition for the sucky things in life. Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I mean, that's the same thing for your job. That's the same thing for your business. I mean, if you're going out and you're searching for, a wife or a husband for the rest of your life, basically you should not go after and search for a really great partner because there's going to be a lot of competition for that partner, and you should just settle for the bad partner because nobody wants them, right? Does that make sense to you? It makes zero sense to me that you should not go after the good things in life because it's going to require work, and there's going to be other people who want those things. So, I mean, I guess if that is your mindset and you're lazy and you don't want good things in life and you just want, the sucky things, then sure, it's going to be harder to get the good things than it is to get the sucky things, and it's going to require work, and there's going to be other people who want those things. Therefore, you should just not go after them because it's going to be harder than the other things. Now, it's a little, same concept, I guess. You have a bad partner for the rest of your life, you're going to regret that decision every single day. You buy bad deals such as single family houses, you're going to regret that decision every single day. And also you got to give these guys credit because they're just trying to help in their own way. Maybe somebody told them that it wasn't possible for them. Maybe they went out and tried to buy one of these deals. I doubt it, but maybe they did, and they got beat in some competition and they got hurt and they were scared to go back into the game. And so because they weren't able to achieve it, they think that they should try and save others from the heartache that they experienced. Maybe that's the case. But I'll tell you that these guys, I guarantee, do not own a lot of real estate because they're advising you to go out and buy single family houses. Anybody and everybody who has gone that route always switches to buying bigger and better deals because the small deals suck. The small deals don't pay you. It's extremely hard to scale buying single family houses. You're never going to build a portfolio of 1,000 units buying single family houses. You're going to have to ditch that way of small thinking and small deals, and you're going to have to start scaling up. So my advice to you is just to start scaling up now. It is as easy to buy a 32-unit apartment complex as it is to buy a single family house. The 32-unit apartment complex is going to pay you cash flow, guaranteed. This single family house will not. I guarantee it if you have debt on it. If you're buying these houses cash, they will cash flow. But you're also not going to scale very large doing that. And it's going to be an operational nightmare for you to figure out a way to grow and scale that portfolio. If you guys can name me one person who, has a portfolio, an individual, I'm not talking about BlackRock or any of the institutions who are buying these houses cash, and they're buying nice properties. They're not buying, the shitty fixer-upper that's about to, the roof's about to cave in, right? They're not burning these deals. They're buying nice houses. They're buying them for cash, and they have, thousands of in-house employees who are managing the assets, doing the property management, doing the contracting work, everything. So if you have $1 billion and you want to go out and buy houses, then I think it actually does make sense. If you have $1 billion cash, you're buying these houses cash, you got 1,000 employees underneath you who are overseeing the entire process, I think it makes a lot of sense. And you plan on holding on to these for a long time. But if you are trying to piecemeal all these together and you have 40 different property managers, you have 40 different locations that you're overseeing, you have all these individual houses and duplexes and everything, and you're buying them with debt, it is going to drive you crazy and you're not going to make any money. You will gain appreciation. And this was another point that was brought up, that you will get appreciation. That is for sure, without a doubt. One house, let's say you buy it for $200,000. Maybe over the next 10 years, you get $200,000 worth of appreciation. It's pretty good, right? But you could also buy that 32-unit apartment complex for, let's say, $2 million. You can get investors to invest in it with you. You can borrow money to get the deal done. You can structure seller financing terms with the seller. And you can force the appreciation on the asset by raising the rents and raising the NOI. And you can create millions of dollars worth of value very fast. On a 32-unit deal that you buy right, and you find a deal that has some opportunity to raise the NOI, it's not unlikely that you could create $1 million worth of appreciation within 18 to 24 months. So buy a house and buy a $200,000 house and maybe get, $200,000 worth of appreciation over 10 years, or buy a $2 million 32-unit apartment complex and get $1 million worth of appreciation in 18 to 24 months. Which one sounds better to you? And then in the house, not get any cash flow, period, till maybe like year 6, 7, 8. Or the 32 unit get cash flow immediately and every single month, which sounds better to you. All right. And then on the house, compete with all the other local investors who are buying houses. Or in the 32 unit, maybe have 1 to 2 other buyers who you're competing against. Which one sounds better to you? What other points do these guys make? That they don't have a lot of experience with it because their points don't make a whole lot of sense. I used to be that delusional too, though. So you have to understand that everybody's going to go through this cycle of learning the hard truths of investing in real estate. And I used to believe what they currently believe to an extent. I always knew that buying bigger and better deals was the way to go. But I used to think that the houses were going to provide for us. I used to think that the houses were going to have cash flow. I used to think that 5 houses was going to get me set for life. And I was horribly wrong. And so was anybody else who has had that belief system. There was someone who mentioned that you'd get like $5,000 a month worth of net income. The hell are you going to do with $5,000 a month of net income? Most families can't survive off of $5,000 a month. I mean, honestly, if $5,000 a month is better than $0 a month. And I guess what their point is that at least that person is doing something. And so while I do agree there that the person who owns 5 houses is better off than the person who owns 0 houses, but it's a stretch to say that person who owns 5 houses is going to be set for the rest of their life and that they're wealthy, because they're not, unfortunately. And that's just the truth, and they're going to be coming out of pocket quite a bit for those houses while they own them. Hopefully they bought them in good condition. Hopefully they bought them in really great locations. Hopefully they have a good management company who's going to oversee these, but they're not going to make any money on them. And the only way they will make money on them is when they sell them, or they do a cash out refi, they pull equity out. But then when you do that, they're setting themselves up for, again, no more cash flow on these deals. And, it's not going to take care of you. It'll take care of you more than if you didn't have any. I agree with that. But it's a far stretch to say that 5 houses is going to set you up for the rest of your life when it truthfully won't. $5,000 a month isn't going to do anything for you. $5,000 a month is not going to allow you to cover all of your bills that you're going to have. It's not going to allow you to pay for all your grandkids' stuff. It's not going to allow you to take care of sick family members. It's not going to allow you to donate anything to your church or to wherever you want to. It's not going to allow you to go vacation constantly. It's not going to allow you to cover all the expenses of life that are going to come up as you plan on retiring. And sure, maybe you sell them. Okay, let's say you got $1 million worth of equity. Let's say you buy 5 houses and you hold them for 30 years. And let's say you have $2 million worth of equity in these houses. Now, who knows what the tax rate's going to be 30 years from now, but it's going to be probably higher than it is today. And so let's say you have $2 million worth of equity. So number one, you're going to pay closing costs. You're going to pay other expenses that are involved in selling. And so let's just do a conservative estimate and say you keep 8% of that $2 million. Sorry, you keep 92%. 8% of it goes to expenses. So 0.92. All right, so now you're left with $1,840,000. Now, let's assume that you keep 50% of that because of income taxes. You know, capital gains. There's a lot of things that are being introduced now to increase capital gains tax. And as time goes on, taxes are likely just going to get higher and higher and higher. So now we're at $920,000. And this $920,000 that you're going to have potentially, if those 5 houses created $2 million worth of equity in appreciation over the next 20, 30 years, now you got to have, to live off of $920,000 for the rest of your life. Unless you put that to work and you get it to start producing more income for you and you reinvest it. But if you're living in this scarcity mindset, which you're probably not going to do if you only have that much cash available at the time, you're going to be hanging on to it. You're going to be scared to invest it. You're going to try and, live this out, right? So $920,000, and let's say you live another 30 years, that's $30,666 that you have to live off of if you sold those houses and capitalized on the equity that you had in them. Every year, $30,000. Now, does that sound like a lot of money? Kat, do you want to live off of $31,000 a year? Yeah, I don't know about the American dream. I mean, my American dream is probably different than most people's American dream. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think differently than most people. The people that I'm around think differently than most people. Most people think that if you buy a house, you're winning. Most people think that if you buy 5 houses, you're winning, obviously, right? Most people are scared of competition. To be honest, most people are losers. Most people, don't do anything. Most people are scared to do anything. Most people live in fear their entire lives. Most people do things that they hate doing. Most people are not free, and for those who can't break out of that cycle, I don't know if they live anybody's American dream other than, everybody who profits off of them for, buying into this house and white picket fence. So I don't know what the American dream is anymore, but for me, I promise you, it's not 1 house. It's not 5 houses. It's not, 230 doors like we have currently. Even there's 230 doors, like, sure, I'm better off with 230 doors than I am with 0 doors. I'm better off with 230 doors than I am with 5 doors. But even 230 doors, it's not providing, the level of life that I want to live. I can't go do anything in this world that I want to. I can't go, do everything. I'm more free than I was when I was making $8 an hour. I'm more free than I was when I was making $50,000 a year. But, to say that what we have today is enough to provide anything and everything that we would possibly want in this world is not true. I mean, I'm up here in the studio talking to you today. If I had everything that I fully wanted and I was, at a level where I was making so much income that, and I'm talking, I don't know what that number is, because the truth of the matter is that whenever I hit a goal, I'm never really satisfied with that goal. But if I was making, I don't know, give me a number. If I was making $500 million a month, Kat said 1,000, but $500,000 a month, that's only $6 million a year. $6 million a year is not that much money. $500,000 a month is more money than those who are making, $50,000 a year, but it's not that much money when you think about it. $6 million a year is not a tremendous amount of money compared to what you could be making. So, I mean, if I was making $500 million a month, I promise you this, I wouldn't be up at the studio talking to you guys. I wouldn't be sitting here and logging in my computer and doing accounting work. I wouldn't be doing a lot of the things that I do. I'd be way more free than I am today. So anyways, just think about what you want out of life. I guess to wrap this up, think about what you want out of life. Think about, if you want to go for the good things, yes, it's going to require more work. There is going to be competition there, and it is going to require you are more prepared and have more resources than if you go for the things that suck. But I don't know about you guys, and I don't want to go and try and achieve things that suck just because they're easier to get. If it's easier to get, it's hard to get rid of. You should not settle for your partner that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You should, by getting a sucky one just because it's easier. You should not settle by creating a sucky business and having a sucky business just because it's easier. You should not settle for buying sucky real estate just because it's easier to get. You should not settle for, having bad health just because that's easier than eating healthy and exercising. You should not settle for, apply it to anything in life. You should not settle for, raising your kids in a bad way just because it's easier than it is to raise them the right way. Whatever you want to apply that concept to, it's always worth it to do the thing that requires more work and effort and that more people desire than the things that suck. So that's my advice for today.